All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Keith Norton with Trades Education Center. Welcome to another episode of Trades Secrets. And we have a special guest with us. And I know I say that every time that we have a special guest, but really every guest we have is special because they each bring their own unique perspective and experience to the trades. And that's why we want to share their story. So today I have with us Addie Utz. Did I say it correctly?
Yes.
Awesome. Addie Utz is with, what do they call it now? WinDustrial, WinSupply,
Supply Inc. I work for WinSupply Inc.
WinSupply Inc. And I think she is a regional account manager, maybe?
Yep.
All right, there you go, regional account manager. And folks, if you don't know this company yet, they are one of the major suppliers of, I mean, you name it, plumbing, electrical, industrial, mechanical, all those types of things to those industries. They're one of the major suppliers. So we have Addie with us today. Tim Davis, my partner, put us in touch, and we're so glad to have you with us today. Addie, welcome.
Yes, thank you. Yes, like Keith was saying, my name is Addie. I am from Dayton, Ohio, and I work for WinSupply Inc. as a regional accounts manager in digital sales. So, kind of a little background. WinSupply owns over 600 local companies that are actual storefronts, wholesale companies, plumbing, HVAC, fire, electrical, all of it. Um, I am 22 years old. I started working at Win the day after my 19th birthday. So I signed my offer letter as an 18-year-old girl.
That's awesome.
Was all for it. I graduated from the University of Cincinnati. Went to UC. I was working for a model agency at the time, was in a sorority, was doing all the college things I was doing. And then being from Dayton, there was a family friend of us, Jeff Dice, who is now the president of WinSupply Inc., reached out and was like, hey, we're going to take on interns for the summer. Would you be interested? And in all honesty, at first I was like, no, I do not want to do that. I want to go home and stay and work at the restaurant I've worked at since I was 15 and lollygag around. And I got on LinkedIn and there was like 200 applications and I was by no means a straight A student. So I was like, oh, like, fine, I'll apply. I don't think I'll get it. I did this internship program. I get the internship. I have no idea what WinSupply is. I'm like going from, college to, hey, we sell toilets. I had no idea what was going on. But the Win way sucked me in. Organization is a very friendly. Everyone knows everyone. There's president stories that are super inspiring. I just immediately kind of made friends. I found out who my boss was that day, went downstairs, introduced myself, learned very quickly that people my age, especially after COVID, don't have the best work ethics. So we just showed up and was ready to work. And from that day forward, everyone was like, all right, you're in. And worked as an intern, just wanted to learn as much as I possibly could, would walk around just asking for work. From there, I would shadow a girl named Casey Wilson, who is now the lead of Contractor Solutions, and that's just AI and different kind of solutions we offer. So she was in my role currently, and I would travel with her. So again, an intern, 19 years old, going on these trips and teaching techs, just people in the field how to shop online. And of course, this sounds just like telling my friends at college, like, oh, I just teach people how to shop online. They're like, what do you mean? Like, everyone uses Amazon. I'm like, no, like, these guys are walking in. They don't have cell phones. They're handing the guys a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard with what they need. Like, it's not as easy as it sounds.
No.
And so I quickly realized it's not as easy as it sounds. And then quickly, again, people are getting internships and I'm like, okay, like, this is probably where I want to be. Like, this is a pretty good gig. Like, people are going to need toilets and pipes forever. So these like social media jobs that people are getting, like, that's not forever. So quickly was like, okay, I would like to work here. I want to do this. I love this company. I was offered a full-time job in college. They were like, finish online, start working. And I was like,
Wow.
not quite. Like, I can't even get beer. So let's maybe start one step at a time. They're like, okay. So I stayed on as an intern, finished school, kind of quit all my little side jobs and such, would work 15, 20 hours a week. Strangest college job because I would be on the phone with presidents all over the place. And they're like construction and they'd be like, where are you? And I'd be like, oh, I'm walking from the library. Like I'm a junior in college. Like, oh, okay. Um, just obviously not used to
That's wild.
a woman calling them in the first place and definitely not a little girl. So they were like, okay, whatever. Um, they were fine with it. But from there, I took summer school, graduated early, and then took over Casey's role as she moved up. And ever since, I have been doing it now full time for a little over a year. And I love it. So basically, day by day, I travel every other week to the Southeast. So my territory is Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Georgia. And I go to WinSupply local companies, so WinSupply storefronts. I work with the president, their salespeople, and I go out and I teach their customers how to shop online. So I'm with the techs, with the contractors. I'm like in the
In
in
the
the
thick of it.
yeah, for sure. And so, being from Dayton, WinSupply Inc. is based out of Dayton, and it's very well known here. It's funny to me when I go so far from home and people don't realize like, oh, there's multiple stores, and I'm like multiple, like there's like 600 some. Like now we have like a whole street of our support service campus, like our offices have taken over a whole street. So
Wow.
in Dayton, it's very well known, and people are like, oh, you work for Win, like
Oh
plenty of
yeah.
people do from high school and college and such. But then when I'm so far from home, my territory, they don't understand how large of it, like I'm like, there's hundreds of people who work for this office and all we do is make sure your stores operate, make sure you have marketing, make sure you have a website, make sure you have computers for your new sales guys who start. All this little stuff goes into uh all of these websites running smoothly.
Mm.
And so I'm the one there, setting up techs online. We have Resupply, which is a restock software we offer. I'm the one going to the customer's shop, getting those numbers set up, getting all of that set up. So it's definitely interesting to
Wow.
go home and talk to the people who are kind of more so on behind the scenes. Like you need this guy to make sure all your data is correct, or this guy to fix your IT problem, but you're never going to see him. Me, and that goes both ways. Like, you're gonna hear every joke in the book. You gotta have tough skin. I learned that like the third weekend. And I was like, okay, like I'm up for a challenge. So very quickly it was like know your stuff, sink or swim, because like it's one thing if you're gonna go in there and be like a middle-aged man, but then when you're a little girl walking in, you're gonna have to know what you're talking about if you want people to take you serious.
Well, listening to this, it makes me think. I think your story can be such a neat place for the kind of the two worlds to meet of, the old school plumber, electrician, whatever you want to call that's, that has their ways of doing things and they've always done it this way. And being doggedly determined that they're not going to change, right? But then having somebody like you and your generation come in and say, well, but there's a whole new way of doing things, and it's really cool if y'all would just give us that, like, and from what I hear from your experiences, you're as doggedly determined to get them drug
Yeah.
into the 21st century. And so I love that, just the meaning of the, just the bullheadedness of both. And you
Yeah.
going, I'm bringing you along to the 21st century, whether you want me to or not. I love that, and I think honestly, from what I've the last couple of years of doing this trade school and learning a lot about the industry and meeting some of the older generations, if you will, of tradesmen, I think in large part they appreciate that bullheadedness of going, oh yeah, okay, that is how you need to do it, and here's why, and I think they appreciate just that straightforwardness. So, hearing that from somebody like yourself, man, I, I could not applaud you more for taking it on. I mean, that's amazing, and I think that too, the internship idea, man. If people have an opportunity to get into an internship, whether they chase that as a career or not, man, would you say you learned more just from that internship than you would have by taking a couple more classes?
Oh, for sure. And that, yeah, I always would say that too. I'm like, uh, so I graduated early. I started school during COVID. So
Oh, bless you.
I took all my hard stuff at the beginning. So like, my dad's like, hello, take math when it's online and you don't have to go in person, or Spanish. Like, Jesus. So I had all of my hard stuff out of the way. So by the time it was my last semester, um, the classes I were taking were so silly, and I was like, "This is like this is the dumbest thing I've ever done." My hardest class was music of the Beatles, and I was taking 100 question exams over the Beatles, and I'm like, "Oh man, like I'm like the only person here who has to go pull these Excel sheets and call these presidents who have no idea that I'm taking music of the Beatles class right now." Super strange dynamic going on there. But yeah, I say that to people all the time. My brother just got hired as an intern this summer. He's a freshman at UC as well, and
Fantastic.
he he's a money man in general, but like he's like, oh man, I already know that everyone's gonna suck me in because Addie turned things around. Like everyone was like, you're graduating college early and you are dying to go work for this company. Like you're like the girliest girl ever, and you're like super excited to go put your work jeans on and like count screws all day. I don't get it. But it really sucked me in for the good.
Well, and it's funny you say that because I love listening to Micro's podcast, and he's had some young ladies that are in the trades on, and to talk about their kind of that dynamic of, well, yeah, I'm a girly girl, but man, I found my home in the trades, and it's like you don't have to give up one to do the other. Um, and I love that for my own daughters. Honestly, I've got a 13, 11-year-old daughters, and one of them is already convinced that she's going to come to our trade school when she gets old enough, and and just, I guess, helping everybody know that you can still be as girly as you want. You can still be as boyish, whatever it is. You can be you and still be in the trades and go 100% in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I have a good like understanding of what goes on day by day. Of like I said, it's a huge organization. It's based out in Dayton, so these people, but like WinSupply does a great job of making sure like if you get hired as a marketing assistant, we're still going to send you to a local company and you're going to go work for 2 days in the warehouse and see how it operates. So I think WinSupply definitely did a great job of being like, hey, like if you want to go out there and do this, go. But if you're like, "Oh, I don't know if that's for me. I wanna stay in my cubicle all day," you can do that too. So they kind of did a good job being like, "Whatever you wanna do, like, the road was yours." And then, yeah, I just was a few stubborn old guys who were like, "No, I'm never doing that," and then grew the business and were like, "Wow, thank you," and that sucked me in to kinda see the people who were ready to send you out the door then maybe hire a younger outside sales guy who's like, "Do we have a website?" Or a customer who maybe retires and then the son takes over and they're like, "I'll order all this online." And I'm like, "Really? I've been trying to ask your dad to do it for a year now." Like, "Okay, sure." And I've always said, like, the second week I started, all the techs I'm with are either 65 or 18, and there's no
There's
in
no in
between.
between, right?
Like, the older guys are always like, "Nope, been doing it the same way forever." Then the younger guys will be like, "Well, wait, I'll use this." And then sometimes that goes back to, like, the presidents or the people at WinSupply are like, "Oh, man, like, we've never really done this." And I'm like, "If they're asking for it, why wouldn't you? Like, let's get the ball rolling." But it is funny to see, and, like, that was something I noticed right off the bat. I'm like, "These guys are either so young or old and they don't wanna talk to me." So I'm like, start with the younger guys, and then sometimes it kinda lights fire under their feet where they're like, "Oh, well, ding dong out of high school can do it. I'm gonna do it." And I'm like, "Oh, are you now?" So it's kind of just you got to learn your audience.
Yeah, that's true, and I'm glad you said it earlier too about work ethic, and because I know that's such a buzzword right now, and I know a lot of people on the news like to do a lot of this about the younger generations, and okay, that might get some clicks and stuff like that. But truth be told, I mean, if you go, person to person, every person's different, and so I think hearing your story and just promoting that kind of story. Look, she's figured it out. Like she knows uh, if I want to sink or swim, I want to swim. So I'm gonna dive in. You've obviously had that work ethic baked in at some point, and so at least from what I can tell. But man, sharing that type of story, I think, is so encouraging to other people, like you said, in the younger generation that can come in and just take the bull by the horns and say, "Let's go, people!" Right? I love that.
Yeah. I think right now too, like I said, so many jobs are like, oh, like everyone's kind of like, do I do stuff online? I want to work from home. What do I do? And so I think that's where I was like, okay, like this is never going away. So like when it comes to job security, like no one's gonna be able like everyone always is gonna need what we sell. So this is a good place to be. And I think understanding that while in college is super important because I mean you're sitting through these classes and then you have no idea. Like I was a communications major with a PR minor and like those were super helpful, but there's so many people who, go to school to be a teacher and then end up on the training department at WinSupply, and you're like, "Man, what the heck?" So I am glad I chose a major that was broad enough to where I was like, "I'll just take a little stuff from each class," and then got working so early and before I even graduated that I was like, "Okay, work and school together. How can I just grow and make this a full-time thing?"
Well, it sounds like you really keyed into the application of everything that you were learning, right? Or maybe not everything, but figuring out what things you were learning that could apply. Because I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking communications and PR. Man, what a great background to get into a position like yours. Because PR, you got to convince people that
Yeah.
what Wind Supply is doing today is better for them than what they used to have. And so that I love that. That's cool. Like that you're able to still use that background. And like you said, the people that were in education, now they're in the training department. That makes sense to me. So that's really cool that a company like that has that many different areas that people can really fit and really contribute to something, like you said, something beyond something that's going to keep going because we're always going to need plumbers. So
Yes, absolutely. The quicker I realized that, the quicker I was all for it, which, like I said, did not take much convincing. I think it was like my second day, and I was like introducing myself to everyone, and they all were like, "You're the chattiest intern we've ever had." Just because I was like ready to learn. Here I am. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
and man, I tell you what, somebody, anybody that shows up eager and willing to learn, I don't know of a single, I don't know of a single business that's going to turn them away and say, you know what, no, they're just a little too excited to be here. Like, I mean, who's going to say that to anybody, right? I mean, if you're ready to show up and contribute, that's awesome. So what? A couple quick questions. What's your absolute favorite thing favorite thing to do in terms of your job and career?
Just seeing, like I said earlier, kind of seeing the growth, seeing those, I send out monthly reports to my territory and just seeing the guys who are at zero for month after month finally get to like 5 or 6% and kind of be like, they'll respond and like they're all kind of know each other. So they'll be like, oh, what the heck did so and so do at this store? How'd they get up there? And just seeing all these guys kind of start to like, hey, wait, I saw so and so went to 15%. How'd they do that? Or like I was talking to this guy and he said he grew so fast. Like, how can I do that? And so kind of just finally seeing them grow and then understand, like, yep, you're right. This isn't going anywhere. I gotta jump on this bandwagon and I gotta start working for this.
That is so awesome. That's cool. And so what's the outside of work life? I mean, is it like all about trades, or it's like, oh, I've done my thing for my job. Now I can go do the stuff I enjoy outside of work. What's outside of work enjoyment look like?
Um, I mean, pretty much what you would expect as a 22-year-old girl. Like, yeah, I get home from my trips and I'm like, go to my dinners and do my everyday life. It's it's hard to explain to my friends because no one is doing anything similar. But with that, I've gotten a few other interns to work at WinSupply. My brother, I have a friend named Brooke who she does the same role as me in a different territory. I'm always trying to recruit anyone. People think it's the funniest thing because I'm always on LinkedIn reposting jobs and stuff. I'm like, I'm the WinSupply sales woman around here.
Well, I tell you what, I think it's honestly part of the bigger picture of what it's going to take to really encourage people that there is opportunity for growth, for like a career long, investment in the trades. To hear from people like you, and I think it's so encouraging to hear your story. And I hope we get to hear more stories like yours. So if when the next person you talk to that's like, oh man, I think Keith over at TEC should hear your story. Send them our way because this has been really cool. It's been really exciting for us. Tim told me a little bit about you, and I was like, man, yes, we need to have Addie on the show because, again, telling stories of people and how they get into the trades and what it's doing for them, that's our whole goal. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for your time here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, again, folks, this is Addie Utz, a regional account manager for the Southeast, or at least part of the Southeast for WinSupply Inc. or Incorporated. Thank you so much for your time. And folks, if you're not aware, like she said, everybody in Dayton knows. Everybody else should know WinSupply Inc. So look them up. Man, what a great company. I know a lot about them just from working with Tim, and now I've learned that much more by talking with Addie. Thank you so much for your time again. Folks, thanks for tuning in to Trade Secrets, the official podcast of TEC, Trades Education Center. And again, thanks, Addie. Have a great one.
Thank you. Have a good one.